say 39.
Number 1.
39.
1.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33.
32.
31.
30.
29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
22.
21.
20.
19.
18. 17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7. 6.
5.
4.
3.
2.
1. It's time for mouthwash. Giddy up.
Hi, and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics. And wow, we have a really interesting show for you tonight. It's so close to the primary this year. We thought, hey, well, it'd be a good idea to get the GOP candidates on that's running for mayor of the great Indianapolis city. And but before we get started, we got a couple announcements here. We want to remind our viewers that we are live on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook, you can leave comments in the chat there. And if you have a really good comment or a question, we'll put it on the air. And so, you know, we want to make sure that we get our audience involved in the show. And if you have a question for one of the candidates, put it up there. And if it's something that, you know, we'll put it up. But, you know, so also, I want to go ahead. I want to do our sponsor tonight. So we actually have a sponsor for this fine show. This is the Beanbo Breads. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this up here, and they're looking for drivers and workers and everything else. You can go to beanbo.com and apply, or you can call this number right there, and you can ask for Becky Morris, and she'll be glad to put you to work. And they have lots of things you can do, but you can make a lot of bread at the bakery. So yeah, there you go. That's your funny part. And then also, we are looking for a full-time Democrat. We have Dana Black on tonight, and she is filling in until we get a full-time Democrat. And I thought, who better would be to come on and grill some Republican candidates, but Dana Black. So I'm sure she'll keep it real, keep it civil, as we like to do on this show. We want to make everybody look as good as we can and make them answer some tough questions. And then also, we are looking for our show next week. Our next week's show, anybody that has won their primary, you are welcome to come on our show for a few minutes, and you can either gloat or whatever you want to do, spike the football, whatever you want to do, you'll be welcome to come on that. We're going to be looking at the primary results after that, and we'll see what's going on. And then, so tonight, let's get to it. The format for the night. So we're going to have equal time for each of our candidates. We're going to do an alphabetical order. We have John Couch coming up first. We have Pastor James Jackson on second, and Jefferson Shreve on deck, or whatever they call that, if you're baseball terms. So let's get to it. I'm going to go ahead and bring the panel on first, and I'm going to bring our guest on. I'm going to bring our guest hostess, or whatever you call that, on there, Dana Black. So Dana, how are you doing this evening?
Good evening, everyone. I am doing fantastic. Indiana's own Dana Black in the building, ready to chop it up about, how these folks want to lead this magnificent city of ours. I am truly excited to hear their input. I've had the opportunity to meet a few of the Republican candidates, and now I'm just ready to hear them chop it up without any let's just go with it. Because I know, John, you're going to be serving up the wiffle ball. So I got to be here to bring that hard ball for all of my Democrats in the great city of
I
Indianapolis.
am not as nice as you make me out to be. I'm just a host trying to keep the glue on the wheels here. So it's fun. You know how it is, Dana. It's great to see you. It's been a minute since you've been on, and I think one of my favorite moments from our show history was when you and Curtis were on the air together, and you got a pretty good. You got to put a good left hook in there on that one. So that was good. So, all right, let's go ahead and bring Lucy on here. Lucy, you're sporting our sponsor here. I like that. It's all good. And are you from your phone, or did your router get fixed, or what?
We finally got the router fixed. It's super important. I have a son that's a professional gamer, and so that means that that was going to get fixed fast. I didn't have too many worries. Yep, no doctor, no lawyer. Professional Call of Duty, but he does make money at it, and he doesn't ask me for money, so I guess it's going okay.
Well, this is what Dort has to say about your.
I am. Yeah, this is where my double chin comes from, right here.
Right, for eating all the snacks and whatnot. All right, well, let's bring on Jordan Davis, our Republican. We have a Republican, Democrat, and Libertarian on here. How'd that happen? Wow.
Hey guys, Jordan, how's it going tonight? Not much, John. Not much. Last week was my internet that was acting wonky, so I'm glad it's not me this week.
Yeah, it's you never know when you're doing live shows what could happen. I mean, we could have a goat come on the show or something. I don't know. You just never know. It could be that.
Just make sure you get the curry sauce ready. That's all I'm saying.
Amen to that.
My neighbors across the street here in Mars Hill have a goat. Have two goats. So it's like, okay, you never know. So, all right. Well, let's see. Let's go to let's put him on the hot seat. So we're ready. We're going to bring John Couch on here. So let me do a little this and that and the other thing here. We'll bring John on here, and we'll bring him out there, and Lucy goes up there, and I got to be down here. Yeah, this is good. All that gets edited out for Channel 40, by the way. So we will get to this. So, hey, John Couch, Republican for mayor, Indianapolis mayor. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How about everybody here?
We're all doing great. I'm going to give you 1 minute to tell us about yourself and why you're running, and then I'm going to turn these panelists loose on you, and we're going to see what happens.
Now, I moved to Indianapolis in 1989. I have been a business owner. I've worked in a lot of different areas. I am the best person to make the changes needed that the city needs and the Marion County needs, since we're Unigov, to improve the city and also make it safe and make the right investments for the citizens of Indianapolis and Marion County.
All right. So I'm going to let Dana Black start. She's our guest tonight. I want to have her start with a question. And then obviously anybody in the audience that's viewing tonight, you can ask a question. And if it's not too crazy, I'll put it out there. We'll see what happens. So Dana, go ahead.
Hi, John. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. About yourself? Oh, by the way, I have a wicked fastball and a wicked curve, and I'm left-handed. So
I'm left-handed too, so I'm here for you. We're gonna challenge you. Southpaws in the house. John, I gotta ask the tough questions. Recently the articles have been coming out that you had some issues with the law here as of late. Crime seems to be the topic of conversation. How can we expect someone who has maybe had his bouts with the law be able to corral and really understand what the crime is like in Indiana and how to resolve it?
Well, first of all, what happened to me on Plainfield happened back in January of last year, and I did not break the law. We were supposed to go to court November 1st, and then it got continued. I was a Republican candidate for state representative at the time, and all I did was, after we were done with court in March, I filed a pro se appeal in the Henry County Superior Court. So now I have a new trial, and we are starting over. So this has been pending since last January, but I did not break the law. I did not take anything, and there's things that was left out of the affidavit of probable cause, and there's some civil issues, but I didn't have the law. I'm an attorney, new judge, the whole bit, so we're starting over. That's all.
Okay, and so when we talk about the crime in Indianapolis, and you're going through the criminal system, and you know how things can be, not as accurate, how do you plan to address some of the issues, knowing that there's probably people in the same position that you're in?
first of all, law enforcement should never have to violate anybody's constitutional rights. They shouldn't have to lie in court, and they shouldn't have to file or, basically, they just got to tell the truth. And we have law enforcement officers out here that aren't doing that, and those law enforcement officers need to be addressed. But when people do things like that, make false statements or perjure themselves in court, it's not just law enforcement, it's other people. We don't have anybody who is, even if you file a complaint, it's like, they just brush it off to the side, and that has to stop. I mean, they have to be held accountable for what they're accusing you of. And if they're wrong, then they got to be held accountable for filing a false statement. It's against the law to do that. And law enforcement officers and nobody should perjure themselves in court. It's like this. It's this side versus this side. We go into court, everyone, tells the truth and whatever evidence and this and that, and both sides battle back and forth, and then the judge makes the final decision. The other problem that we have is that we have magistrates over here in trials, and the only person should be over here in a bench trial should be a judge. And these are issues that need to be brought up. Some of it is state level, and some of it can be handled in the Marion County system. So it's just everyone's entitled to the same proper procedure in the state of Indiana, Marion County, state of Indianapolis.
I'm glad you said that, because just to follow up, the legislature this General Assembly session literally had to pass a bill to say that police officers can't lie to kids. So yeah, they had, because apparently that was a thing, and the Republicans and Democrats both agreed that you should not lie to kids when you're interrogating kids. Yay!
No, here's the other thing: they shouldn't even be they shouldn't be approaching a minor without the parents standing there. And because if they do, then what happens is when they go to juvenile court, all that stuff gets tossed out anyways, because if they have a good public defender, it's against the law for them, and it violates a minor's constitutional rights to be questioned without the parent present.
Yeah, that seems to be parents knowing things these days seem to be a thing. So, all right, I'm going to go to Jordan next, and we'll see how that goes. And I'm sorry we have to speed this up a little bit because we do have so much time per candidate. So, Jordan, what's your question?
So my question for you tonight, John, is going to be about mental health. Mental health is a big issue right now in Marion County. As mayor, what would you do to curb our mental health and also to bring awareness to mental health? So how would you reallocate funds, or what would you do to go about combating mental health?
Well, one of the things I've been really pushing for is to bring safety listening skills, anger management, critical thinking into the state of Indiana, Marion County, and the city of Indianapolis. And I keep putting it in as far as education, but it's also something that could be done for everyone. And I coach soccer. I work with people, train them, and 80-90% of your action or everything, 80-90% is controlled by your mind. So if you have negative attitude, then you're not going to accomplish anything if you say you can't do anything. And these areas will help people create, and even a little bit of sports psychology and the sales PMA, positive mental attitude. People need to have change their thought. They're thinking negatively, they need to change it to positive. And it takes a second. It's not like overnight, but a lot of things can be addressed there. As far as allocating funds into the mental health area, I have no problem doing that. But there's acute mental health and there's chronic mental health. The chronic mental health is a part that they're two different things, because you can become mental for a quick instant and make a wrong decision, or it's something that is long term and really needs to be addressed. I myself, being a head coach and everything else, and being in training and working with people, it's the mindset. Because I get people telling me, I can't do that. Oh, there's no way I can do that. And I keep telling them, you will do it. You will do it. And then they finally do it. And then they gain the confidence and everything changes. But people, you have a choice. You can either make the life change or make the wrong choice and you hang out in the playpen and, or have a unhappy life. To me, when you wake up in the morning, it's a great day. I mean, everything after that is just stuff you got to deal with. But every day is great. And if you have that mental positive attitude, you will be much more successful than if you're waking up and being hateful and, or have a negative attitude.
Yeah. Well, every day is a great day. And especially when you're running for mayor, that makes it even a really interesting day, I'm sure. So, all right, saving Lucy for last, and this order may change up with our next victim. I mean, our next candidate. So, go ahead, Lucy.
For consistency, I'm plan on asking the same question of each candidate. John, nice to meet you. Good luck to you. And my question is, how do you plan on protecting the individual rights and liberties of the citizens of Indianapolis from an encroaching local, municipal, county, state, and federal government? How will you make sure that our rights are not infringed?
First of all, I'm not afraid to stand up for anybody's rights. I'm not afraid to stand up for my rights. And I'm not afraid to stand up for animal rights, people's rights, because we are all protected by the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of Indiana 24/7. If we have people who are infringing on those, it needs to be addressed. I don't care who they are. And people who are of authority, they need to be addressed and it has to go to the proper level. So if it's a federal crime, it needs to go to federal, Department of Justice, FBI, complaint against them there. State level, let's go to state police. And then, of course, on the local levels, either Marion County or the city of Indianapolis. But nobody should be violating anybody's constitutional rights. Nobody should be discriminated against. Nobody should be, we're all human. I grew up in Fremont, California, and there's literally no crime there. It's in the San Francisco Bay Area. So people can coexist. We are human first and then whatever after that. But we have to respect each other and just coexist. But on every level across the board, nobody's constitutional rights should be violated. The other thing is, when federal passes a law, sometimes they allow states to make changes. The state passes a law, sometimes they allow local. However, if they don't allow local, then we have to adhere to their law. But there's a way to address it, and I will address those issues. And I have no problem going to the state legislator or doing whatever needs to be done to either make a change or make it get them to make a change or take them into court and fight it.
You're muted, John.
Oh, no,
I was about to take over the
show.
host. But...
I was opening up now this is the time where I take a little joke here. So, I don't know who uses Instacart, but sometimes when you order 12-ounce Cokes, you get 7-ounce Cokes. So I have 2 of these little ones, which makes me look like a giant.
That's
so
Biden inflation right there that was started by Trump, but nobody will talk about that.
Somebody got me on that. So I didn't want to have you listen to me opening up my second Coke because I don't want you to think I'm all high on sugar on this show, but that's it. So, hey, we got time for one question.
Gas right now. If we were pumping our own gas, we could be, our inflation wouldn't have gone as skyrocketed. And who did that?
That's for the president to worry about. But I got a question for you. This comes from Kelly Calloway. This is going to be about this talks about the riots during I guess the George Floyd riots or whatever that was that happened to our city. What would be your plans if there's anything you do differently, or if that happens again? How would you? I think that's what the question is. How would you react? So if there was another riot situation, or what would you do differently to say how that went down?
First of all, I would impose a curfew right away. The next thing is that I would hold people accountable for and to the damage that they do. There's no reason. There is no reason. I understand people get upset or they disagree with things. I have no problem with a peaceful type of disagreements are people free speech, as long as it's peaceful. But when they're destroying our city, that is wrong. And our law enforcement officers need to address it. And if we have to go back on videotape and file charges against people, then we have to hold them accountable for their actions. There's no reason to destroy our city and hurt the businesses and the people that are providing opportunities for people to live and coexist here in the city of Indianapolis and Marion County. It's no reason, it's uncalled for, and this unnecessary violence and breaking law needs to stop. And it's all about self-control. And that's what we have to focus on, is people going back and just the simple stuff of, self-control. Don't do it. But we also have to, if this ever happens again, I mean, put a curfew in and hold people accountable, even if we got to go back and get whatever tape we can get and to file charges against them.
Yep. All right. Well, that seemed like a pretty standard answer there. I appreciate that. So, John, we appreciate you coming on, taking the time. I wish you luck. The election is 1 week away. I suppose that anybody that's running for office, when it gets closer to the end, you're sort of wishing you had more time, and then you're wishing it's over. So we wish you good luck.
Wishing it's over. Just remember this. When you see your couch or you're sitting on your couch, tell yourself, vote couch.
So yeah, you could be like that one guy, a chicken every pot. You could say a couch for every house. So there you go. I'm a logo writer for you. So, all right, Mr. Couch, we appreciate you being here. So we are going to bring out Jackson next. So let's see. Oh, not Lucy. It's like Lucy. We love you and Lucy, but it's Pastor James Jackson's turn to be on, and he looks like he's quite ready for questioning. He's got like his bonsai tree in the back there, and he's going to probably trim that after all these questions here. So, Lucy, you got to get back up there and all that. So, Pastor Jackson, I'll give you the same opportunity. You have 1 minute to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. I'm James Jackson. I lived in Indianapolis for 44 years. My beautiful wife, I've been married to my beautiful wife, Dee, for the last 31 years. 4 beautiful daughters, look like models, 2 grandsons. Been pastoring 29 years, running for mayor to make Indianapolis the safest city in the United States of America.
All right. I like a nice condensed introduction. It's always good. I'm a kiss guy. Keep it simple, keep it short. So we started with Dana last time. We're going to start with Lucy this time, and I think she's got a standard question. So I don't know, So go ahead, Lucy, fire it out there.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Pastor, and nice to see you again. So I'm asking the same question, to be fair of everyone, which is, how will you, as Indianapolis mayor, protect the individual liberty of each of Indianapolis's citizens? How will you protect us from municipal, local, county, state, and federal governments that are encroaching upon our rights?
I always like to say it's not who's right, it's what's right. And what's right for all of us is based on the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights. And I think it's important for leaders, particularly mayor, to stand up for people's rights. And most of all, listen to people. And when people have issues or they feel or think that their rights have been violated, to make myself available to listen to why they feel and think that way, and to work with them and others to resolve those issues.
All right. All right.
Oh, I was going to ask a follow-up.
You can go ahead. You can go ahead and ask that follow-up, Lucy.
Well, we happen to have an occupying force in Marion County, right up near the Castleton Costco is the FBI building. And the FBI is well known for setting up citizens, using them as patsies, and then arresting those citizens. Are you willing to, and to be fair, I didn't ask this of anybody else, so you can decline. I hadn't thought about this before, but would you be willing to kick the feds out of your city in light of the fact that they're often in a contrarian position and preying upon citizens?
You know, I graduated from the FBI Citizens Academy pre-COVID. It was exhilarating experience. I met a lot of great people. Listened to what the FBI had to say and what they do and how they do it. I think they do have a purpose to play and a role to play in our city. Kicking them out of the city, I don't think is something I would do, but I would want to make sure that they are part of doing what I would hope to do. And that's my number one thing, dealing with public safety.
Is that role of the FBI enumerated in the Constitution that you swore to defend and protect?
Well, I haven't sworn to defend and protect it yet. After May 2nd, and I win the mayor's race, then I'll.
So pledge. You've pledged. You said that you would. You promised.
Well, again, I'm going to work with everyone to make Indianapolis safe. That's my pledge. Public safety is very, very important to me. And one thing I can tell you is that I will not allow any agency to violate the rights of the people that they're supposed to serve.
Okay,
Fair enough.
That's good. All right, Dana, I'm going to have you up next, and Jordan gets to be on deck, at bat. I don't know what it is. The baseball terms, it's not good for me. So, Dana, what's on your mind?
Excellent. In Dallas in 1980, Paul Weyrich, the father of what they call the right-wing movement, said, "Now, many of our Christians have what I call the goo-goo syndrome, good government. They want everybody to vote. I don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the election quite candidly goes up as the voting populace goes down. We have seen just in this particular General Assembly session and previous General Assembly sessions where the Republicans are working really hard to make voting harder, not easier. And in a city with over 600,000 registered voters and almost 30% of those being African-American, almost 12% of those being Hispanic, do you side with your fellow Republicans in that you want to make voting harder? Or do you want to encourage people to vote? And will you be in the community encouraging people to get out to the polls?
In America, we have always encouraged people to vote, Republicans and Democrats. I would certainly encourage people to vote. I would certainly be against any types of measures, Republican or Democrat, that make it difficult for people to vote. I believe in fair elections. I think everybody ought to have that right, and there are people who have died down through the decades to make sure that every American has an opportunity to do that.
All right, yeah, that is a good one. And I Dana, to your question, we have it's predominantly a Democrat city. I mean, it's pretty much about 2/3 to 1/3 now. So I think that the Republicans are definitely going to want to get more people to vote. I don't want to speak for all Republicans, but I think they want to get more people to vote.
Well, the one thing that we have seen in Indianapolis is in Marion County is how strategically voting locations are. In Hamilton County, we know the number of early voting locations is much more significant to their population than they are here to our population. So there again are systemic barriers to voting. Even though they say it, we watch as Republican-led legislator after legislature pass more and more bills and pieces of legislation to make it harder for people to vote, and especially in Marion County. So I know we say the right thing, but when you watch the policies that are coming out of the State House by the supermajority Republican-led House and Senate, the policies make it harder for people to vote, not easier.
Yeah, it seems like it's fairly easy here to get your absentee in and all that. I've already voted early, so hey, it was
they passed the legislation this session to make it harder for absentee ballots to get turned in. Again, those pieces of legislation are coming down by this particular party. I want to make sure that I want to know whoever's running my city, whether they be Republican or Democrat, they are making sure that the right to vote is there, and they're not making it harder for us. When you see long lines, and that's voter suppression, people. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, I walked right in. Me and Vop Osley voted together this weekend, so that was fun seeing him out. Okay, Jordan, I think you're the last one in this round of questioning, and then we got to have one from the audience. And I'm sure it's really got nothing to do with the mayor that's coming up, but we may ask it anyway. So go ahead, Jordan.
So thank you again, Pastor, for being on the show tonight. One of the things that is really important is crime. And Callaway asked a really good question. You know, if we do have a situation where public confidence in the mayoral office or in our police department is at an all-time low, and we do see national strife, what are you willing to do to protect not only Hoosier assets here in the capital city, but also to mitigate the wounds that may be torn open from the disagreements? So how would you find a good, healthy balance to deal with rioting, but also concerned citizens who do want their property to be safe and protected?
Well, with regard to what happened with what we call the George Floyd riots, it should have never happened here in the first place. Indianapolis leadership had intelligence that there could possibly be something that would happen, but our local leaders did not, and I'm not talking about the police department, I'm talking about our governing officials. They were derelict in their duty to engage law enforcement to make sure that the things that happened did not happen. That's not something that I've heard. That is something that I know personally. And it's unfortunate that that was allowed to happen. And I think as a leader and as a mayor, you have to make sure that you're doing what's best for all the people that live in the city. And that is protecting the city. And the mayor has that responsibility. And we had at that time, and we still have, all the resources that we need to do that now and in the future. The state of Indiana, by law, is supposed to help every city in the state of Indiana to solve its problems or problems that might come up. So where leadership is concerned, a good mayor has to make sure that he or she is making sure that you get out in front of some of these things. There's a good book called The Leadership Lessons of the Navy SEALs. And in that book, there's a chapter on what if. What if we jump out of the airplane and one of the soldiers breaks an ankle? What if our gear lands 2 miles away from our site that we wanted to drop on? So they go through all the what ifs. And I think in that scenario that happened here, there was a lot of what ifs that we could have and probably were prepared to deal with. It just didn't happen. It was a failure of leadership. And that wouldn't happen in my administration.
Yeah, that was definitely interesting to see that. And I was actually down at the city county building when we had Drayshawn Reed, which, if people remember that from this, it was 31 days before the George Floyd incident. And there was a rally down there, and they were asking the mayor to come down. They were right in front of the city county building, and he did not come down. And I think that if he would have come down that day to talk to those folks and, again, listen to the people's concerns, they wouldn't have marched out to 62nd and or 61st and Michigan Road, where Drayshawn was shot, and camped out for 30 some days until the George Floyd thing. So we had an extra amount of powder keg here with that situation. And I don't want to conflate that with that part of it, but that gives some of our viewers a little bit of background on what happened during those riots. And then we're talking about that. I know that's something that's important, but here we're going to have we have time for a question from one of our viewers. And this is, do you think being a pastor has an advantage or disadvantage when running for public office? God knows we need to pray for Marion County. That's my friend Mike Houghton who put that question up there. So is it an advantage or a disadvantage? What do you got?
It could be both. I think it's an advantage in that, as a pastor, and I've been pastoring 29 years, going into my 30th year since April 1 this year. So I have a lot of experience in dealing with people. I've been involved in the community. Out of all of those who are running for mayor, I'm the only candidate, I think, including Joe Hogsett, that has been awarded an award by, in fact, the city of Indianapolis in 2016 in IMPD for the Crime Fighter of the Year award. And so there are a lot of candidates who say they want to do something to effect change in our city with regard to public safety. I was on the team in 2009, 10, and 11 that where homicides were trending under 100. I had a responsibility in that and played a part in it. So the advantage is most pastors are involved in the community, hopefully They are. I have been. The disadvantage would be people saying, well, he's a pastor, but can he govern? Yeah, he governed a church, and I've had that. Someone said, well, he's a good administrator perhaps with the church, but can he govern a city? There's a resource out called How to Think Biblically and Speak Secularly. I know the differentiating factors between that which is church and that which is government. There are 7 societal influencers in our community: religion, then you have government, and they both have a different way of functioning. And I would be able to make that transition into understanding what government is. Running a city is not the same as running a church.
Yeah, you get taxes instead of handing a plate out. So I think in donations, voluntary at church, and in the city, it is mandatory. So there's a little difference in how you get funded. So yes,
Jesus said, "Give Caesar what's due Caesar, and give God what's due God." So
there you go. Hey, that's very good. That's like Dana would say, I set up the wiffle ball. That would be I set the volleyball right up there and you spiked it. So I know I just did that for Dana. So, all right. Well, Mr. Jackson, we wish you all the luck, and I enjoyed listening to you. I forgot I was a host there for a minute. But we're back. I'm back now. So that's good. So now we'll bring on Mr. Shreve, and we'll bid you adieu here. Let's see. I'm the guy in charge too on the board. So there you go. Thanks, Pastor Jackson. So let's see. Oh, Lucy's out there again. We see that. So Lucy, you can just keep wanting to hog the highlights here, and then I get everybody mixed up on the side. So there we go. We'll just change it up every single time how this works. Jefferson Shreve, unmute yourself and say hello to our people. There you go. All right. Yeah. I once did an interview and forgot my microphone went on. It was a really good one too, and we had to redo it. Technology, it's great. Mr. Shreve, I'm glad you made it tonight. It's unfortunate that Abdul had an emergency and could not make it, so you are taking his spot, and we'll hope to see him soon. He had a fundraiser that had to get canceled due to this emergency, so you get a little more time tonight. So we're going to give you 15 minutes each, and we gave you about 20 minutes each. So in a minute, tell us a little bit about yourself and why the heck you want to be mayor of Indianapolis.
Well, John and friends, I appreciate the opportunity to participate. I'm participating from my car. And when you're running for an office in this county, you're reminded that there are 400 square miles, and we're all running all over the place. I couldn't tell if John Schmitz or if John Crouch was reaching in from his car too, but that's the case at the moment. I'm glad to be here. So, why am I doing this? I'm doing this to lead the city. This is a role and a responsibility that I have considered applying for some time. I served on our city county council on 2 occasions, and I did think about this seriously back when Greg Ballard had decided not to run. But it wasn't a time in my life when I could do it. I could have cleared the calendar to campaign, but I wasn't prepared to give my life to serving. And I am running to win, to serve, whether it be 4 or 8 years. I think I got something to offer. I'm a son of the city. I was born here. This is my home. I've made a good living in Indiana, and so I think I've got something to offer. I'm a business guy by background, 30 odd years, but more than a dozen years of being involved in our city. I mean, I got involved as an elected precinct committeeman down in Perry Township, Precinct 3, and that's where I started. And then I got onto the council, and I served as a commissioner on the Metropolitan Development Commission. We got a lot of people with a story like this, that have leaned into their city and given part of their lives to it. And a subset of people that think about and have the ability to give their lives to it, if as both a candidate in the short term and a hopeful mayor in the long term. And so that's what brings me to this point.
All right. Yeah, that was a little longer than a minute, but I'm going to give
Well,
you that
you
break.
said I was taking Abdul's space too.
Hey, I don't want Dana to accuse me of being nice to you. Okay.
Well,
So
hell, I thought I had Abdul's time as well. So I apologize.
okay. Well, I'll let him know that you put in a good word for him. So there you go.
Abdul's a good man. I always put a good word in for him.
So yeah, we know what it is. Just to take a moment of your time, that I'm glad to see that it's a competitive race. I mean, we have covered some bases here on the difference of candidates. It's not like you go in and it's just a choice here or there. It's the same choice. So I do appreciate that, and it makes for good conversation. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead. Let's see. Jordan hadn't gone first yet, have you? Jordan, have you gone first yet?
Nope, I haven't yet.
Yeah, Jordan's up.
All right. Thank you so much.
It's good to interview.
It's a pleasure. My first question for you is going to be simple, and it's going to get directly to the point. Right now, we are seeing a high vacancy with our police department. What are you going to do to retain talent, good talent, for us to be able to police the streets of Indianapolis? And also, what are you going to do to curb the extremes of riots? How would you use your powers as mayor to stop riots from happening here in Indianapolis? Those are my two questions for you.
I'll take the first question first. We are a couple hundred short of where we need to be on our sworn officer count on the IMPD. I'm of this position because in my time on the City County Council, I also served on the IMPD Staffing Commission. That commission was chaired by John Barth. He was a vice president of the council. He's still a member of the council. He's a Democrat. And we, 8 of us, objectively, not wearing a partisan jersey, looked at, from a data-driven standpoint, at where a city of our size needed to be in terms of our sworn officer count. We are 250 short. When the Hogshead administration started, it came in with the promise of adding 150 to the starting point. Well, we haven't added 150. And the administration today has fewer officers on our force protecting life and property 7.5 years in than we had when they started. So they didn't keep the campaign promise, but they haven't performed. And there are reasons why we set these goals, we have these metrics, and we work toward them. In my view, the difference between where we are and where we need to be in terms of the head count is the difference between the pivot from a reactive approach to policing to a proactive public safety posture. You have a few hundred more officers walking a beat, visible on the streets, turning up in neighborhood associations. You have that opportunity for back and forth intel, listening with people in the community, with neighbors, whereat they will hear, I'm seeing this. Every Thursday night there's that. And then the members of the IMPD can think about that, respond to it, add extra patrols, and get ahead of some of this stuff. Because what we see when we turn on the news in the morning or in the evening are all these flashing lights and squad cars that are responding to something bad that happens. Well, bad things are going to happen in an urban area, but we're not getting ahead of a lot of this. And I believe that we could, if we had enough human horsepower to pivot to a proactive form to police protection for our city. The second question, remind me of the second question.
The second question is, how would you exercise your powers during a riot when we seen the last time the mayor was so keen not to let the police do their jobs? What would you do differently to ensure safety?
I appreciate the prompt. Well, thankfully, our city hasn't been overridden with riots with any frequency, but we sure were in May of 20. And I would simply do the job that is the job of the mayor. You've got to be on the scene. You can't be checked out. You can't dial it in. You got to be there. And you've got to give your command staff at the IMPD guidance, direction, and backup. Our officers are trained and sworn to protecting life and property. In that instance, which spanned a full weekend, our mayor was AWOL. I mean, he simply was unaccounted for, and that's not okay. And our officers were told in the vacancy of that leadership to stand down. Let it rip. Not good, not right, and long-term damaging because they are wired otherwise. I would not approach it that way. I would have offered my resignation if I were AWOL through that period. And the citizens should just expect something so much more from the chief executive. But we are thankful in Indianapolis that riots are not a commonplace part of the landscape. And if I'm lifted into the mayor's office, we'll have a public safety posture where I don't think we'll see that again.
Yeah, and we missed the Martin Luther King when Martin Luther King was assassinated. Bobby Kennedy was here, and a lot of cities burned, and ours didn't. So that's we have that going for us, but this last time we didn't do that. So I'm going to go.
Wasn't that an extraordinary opportunity? When Bobby Kennedy was here and with Mayor Lugar, and I mean that underpins what is so special about Kennedy King Park and whatnot. But I mean, if that's not an example of leadership in a moment of crisis, what is? Exactly. But that's what we should expect. Leadership in moments of crisis. And leadership needs to be present, visible, and on the scene. And that's not what we had.
No, I agree with that 100%. Okay, Lucy, we're mixing this order up, so it's Lucy's turn, and I think she's got a standardized question for you. So
I do. And Jefferson, happy to meet you. Pleased to meet you. I know that you had your undergrad from IU, and you also have a degree from Purdue. So people that are, on both sides of that fence, I'm IUPUI, so I'm like on both sides of that fence.
Ball State, chirp, not voting for them. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, Lucy, we've got two great schools, I did my undergrad down in Bloomington and my MBA at Purdue. But I'm on the IUPUI advisory board that Andy Klein is leading now.
Yay, go Jags!
Yeah, NASA used to lead that when I came on board. And we just had a meeting on campus last week. I'm sorry, folks, to digress, but there's some good and fun stuff coming down the pike. With the IU Indianapolis and the potential for a whole lot of investment with Purdue University with the Purdue campus in Indianapolis. We've got to get that right. But I think it portends an amplification of the investment of our Big Ten universities in our city. One thing that Columbus, Ohio has going for, over and above what Indianapolis has is that centrality of focus of Ohio State on the short north end of downtown Columbus. Well, if we can continue to grow IU Indy and have Purdue Indy anchor nearby or along the corridor, we could be a rock star city from the standpoint of two Research One universities doing great things, focused in different directions that could dramatically underpin the economy, the workforce, and the talent attraction in Indianapolis. I'm juiced about what that could be, but it's something we got to get right.
Yeah, it has been exciting to watch it grow as somebody that went there and saw it from, I started there in '89, but I didn't graduate till 2013 because I met my husband on the second floor of Kavanaugh Hall. And now 33 years later, we have 10 kids. It took me a while to get. Yeah, 10, honestly. It took me a while to get through.
God bless you. Who does that anymore?
Only crazy people. And Dana will tell you I am crazy. So I'm going to be fair. I hope this is fair and ask you pretty much the same question I've asked everybody else, which is, how do you intend to protect the individual liberty of the citizens of Indianapolis from the encroachment by local, municipal, federal, and state governments? How are you going to keep our rights from being infringed by those big bad entities?
Well, I don't think we need any more laws. I'm not look, I think we've got a highly developed democracy. I don't think we need to add more or infringe more. We've got what we've got, and we need to keep it in place and in check. I mean, these personal liberties that we have, we ought be plainly protective of. So, you know, I mean, we have a highly formed version of democracy.
Can I just hop in and stop you right there? Because you are obviously such a smart guy and a smart businessman that you've got to know we're not a democracy. A democracy
we are a
is
democracy.
no,
come
we're
on now,
not.
Lucy.
No, democracy is mob rule. It's two wolves and a sheep deciding what's
I
going to be
don't
for
agree.
dinner.
Lucy Benton, we live in a democracy, and I've had opportunities to travel in other parts of the world that are clearly not what we have and enjoy here in Indiana.
Now, I will agree that we are the best thing going, right? And I have not traveled nearly as extensively as you. Unfortunately, but no, we're not a democracy. A democracy is
10 kids kept you from traveling. 10 kids.
Isn't that the 10 kids will make it too difficult to travel to the grocery store? Let's be real. Let alone, you know, I made it up to Canada and they turned me away because I was too highly armed. Sometime too heavily armed. Sometime you can ask me that story because that's the truth. We got turned away at the border because I was too heavily armed. But no, a democracy would be 51%. Voting to take all the money away from the 49%. And that's almost what we have now. I mean, in practice, there are a lot of things that are democracy, but those are not things to brag about. Those are things to be concerned about and to make sure that the rule of law is here. I mean, taxation is theft, and we have an ever-growing government, state, local, and federal level, and an ever-growing cadre of employees that are literally parasites upon the back of those productive citizens.
I'm going to disagree here. Taxation is not theft, and I am as
reshuffle the deck, Lucy.
Here we go.
I mean,
well, you didn't consent. You didn't ask my permission. I mean, by the accident of my birth, I became a milk cow for the taxes. We live on a farm. We live on a tax farm.
All right.
All right, I'll stop.
A whole bunch of taxes.
Look, you made him lose his camera.
Jefferson, I love you. I don't want you to pay taxes. I want you to continue to be a rich man who is able through
you got me all worked
philanthropy and voluntarism to bless your fellow citizens. That means that you gave the taxes to an imperial government who's going to oppress the citizens of Indianapolis and the world. I mean, literally, quite frankly, the world. We're bombing brown people everywhere still. I wish they would stop, but I'm going to stop because my buddy Dana needs to ask a question.
Yeah, the mayor. This is about the mayor.
And you've got such a good attitude. You got such a good attitude. I've given you a hard time. I apologize.
Well,
Dana hadn't even gone
we
yet.
have to have
Dana's
the system to fund roads and infrastructure, and wastewater utilities, and trash collection. And
I pay for my trash collection privately. I mean, I have a private.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can get that through Republic or whatnot, but I don't think that we can get it more efficiently in a compact metro area than perhaps what our city.
Don't tell me that you think that government can do something that is more economical or, you know, in a better way. I mean, government always does everything bad, right? There's no
right. Government doesn't do everything bad.
Every example I can think of, it's bad. But I trust that you would be a much better mayor than what we have.
Lucy, you're a reader. You need to read more books about some of the good things the government does.
Right, Lucy, you live in an urban setting?
No, I moved out to we left Fishers, which is, you know, an arguably wonderful area. We left Fishers for 3 acres in the country. And I cannot be more thrilled than to know that the number of politicians per capita is much less in my county. Makes me feel a bit safer.
It is. Oh, I thought we lost her there for a second, but
no, I hit the wrong button. I'm muting myself because I've given Jefferson. You're such a nice guy. I've given you a hard time, but I did want to let you know right up front. I admire you. I admire your education. I admire you as a business person. I'm a fellow real estate investor. I think you've done an amazing job. So good on you.
Yeah, just don't tax her because it's theft. All right, so
don't tax me, bro.
Actually, Lucy was probably supposed to be one of the milder ones, but we got Dana Black. I saved her.
Well, Lucy,
queued her up left. Okay, hold on, Dana. Hold on. Let's let him talk.
Mindful of taxing people right out of this county. I mean,
that's happened.
Got to create an attractive sandbox for people to choose to stay, and recognize that some people don't have the means, to have the mobility to leave otherwise. We can't tax people out of this county. And, Hamilton County has some great things going for it. And yet their tax rate is lower in some respects than ours. I will work vigorously to keep our tax structure in check from the standpoint of the budgets that if I had the opportunity to lead, the mayor's role is to put forward a budget. The council's role is to pick it apart, examine it, and hopefully approve it. And I've been on the pick it apart, examine it, and hopefully approve it side. I've been through a half dozen cycles. But now I'm asking for the opportunity to be the lead on developing our municipal budget. Oh, I would do it judiciously. I don't want to overburden our citizens because it has the potential to drive people out of county. And what mayor can be successful if you set up a system that motivates them to leave?
Well, at least you understand a balance sheet. At least you understand a profit and loss. And that's more than we can say for the current guy.
All right. Now that was a good segue to Dana. Dana, because I don't, we're getting long in the tooth on Jefferson's segment here.
I gotta get at Lucy for just 1 second though.
Come on, bring it.
We'll I just want, and then JS, I'm gonna hit you. I think everyone needs to understand.
I love that JS. That's awesome.
Hey,
the government is not a business. The government is not a business.
You're right. It doesn't provide valuable
because there are services that government provides for people that are not profitable. So there are still services. There are services that the government provides that are not profitable that you still need to provide to have a very sustainable and growing and thriving society. They're just commonality things that the government must do that if it was profit-based, it wouldn't happen. Now, my question.
I agree with you. Dana, 2 points to Dana.
Government is not
right.
business.
And all of those things are enumerated in the Constitution, to which we should be limited.
So my question is this. And we are talking to Republicans, and that's why I'm really asking the type of questions that I'm asking. It seems like the supermajority in our state house has it in for Marion County. Oftentimes, I'm seeing bills that are specifically targeted for the consolidated city. For example, the city council, which you once served on, just passed an ordinance that said that they were going to put up no turn on red signs. Well, then the supermajority in the state house said, oh, no, we're going to pass an amendment to a bill that says consolidated cities cannot put up no turn on red signs. I think that is an encroachment on local control. What will you do as mayor of the city of Indianapolis to keep Republicans from having 2 jobs in the state house, running as rep and senator in the state house and trying to be city councilors in Marion County, because they are targeting Marion County specifically for a whole host of bills, including the state takeover of IMPD. You've never heard of a state taking over a municipal law enforcement agency. They've targeted specific school systems where there are Democrats in control. If you become mayor, how will you keep your Republican supermajority in the state house out of Marion County so that we can govern ourselves with the elected people that we voted for, not the ones they voted for? Sorry, I got hyped on that one.
That was good. I mean, that's why we have her on.
Bring in the fire. Bring in the fire.
That's 5 points for Dana. Dana's in the lead tonight. That's 5 points.
Dana won the debate at the Republican mayor's thing. It's unbelievable how that happened. So go ahead, Jefferson.
I appreciate Dana's energy and conviction over this issue. Look, I'm not running to be a proxy for the state senator or the House. I'm running to be mayor of the city, and we have a strong mayoral system. And if the people lift me up into this office, I aim to be mayor, and to use my voice, the bully pulpit, and the position to lead our city, and not to be run roughshod over state legislators of any party. I understand the structure of our Constitution. I get the powers and authorities that are delineated, that they have the ability to wield, and we clearly see evidence of that. I without legal wrangling, I would start with the relationships, and I have some relationships with members of our Marion County delegation on both sides. I mean, I served with Aaron Freeman, and I'm sure he comes to mind with some of what you're talking about. But I also served with Blake Johnson and others. I've gotten to know Robin Shackelford along the campaign trail. We may have different views or ideas as to what's good for Marion County. And I may or may not agree with some of their views on some of these things. I'm going to work with them, but I would be the mayor, and I'm not going to sit idly by while they try to supplant the power and authority of the city county council. Here's one thing I would bring as mayor that would be a perspective that is just different than what our city has had before. I would come out of the council. And what a great place to learn our city. I mean, so oftentimes in other municipalities, people that run for the mayor's office have served in the council. Well, not once since our city created Unigov have we had a member, current or former, of the council that ran for, or rather was elected to, the mayor's office. Not once. And if you look around, that's very uncommon. Someone asked me at a town hall, if I were elected, how would I deal with a Democrat majority on our council? And I just thought to myself, well, I wouldn't deal with them. I'd work with them. I mean, when I was on council, last time Bob was president, first time Maggie was president, last time Zach Adamson was vice president, the time before that, John Barth was vice president. They're all still there. I generally consider them reasonable and friends. Maggie chaired MEDC, which is my favorite committee. I wouldn't deal with my former council colleagues. I would work with them. And I would work with them, even though they wear a different jersey than I do, in ways meaningfully more substantive than I have seen our sitting mayor work with them. And if we can work together, we can get some good stuff done.
Well, I hope that you work with the people in your same jersey and tell them to get the hell out of my city. I'm sick of these people living in rural Indiana, thinking they know what Indianapolis needs, and they don't even come here
with us. You know,
yeah,
I mean,
they
share
part of our
delegation because they
but
live
we
in
are supposed
County.
But we're supposed to have local control. We elected our city councilors to write ordinances for our city, and for state legislators to come in and override basically is disenfranchising all of us in Indianapolis by taking away the votes of the people that we put in office. So please talk to the people in your same jersey and tell them to get out.
Yeah, I would say
I'm hearing your message.
There's some other things that Dana didn't mention that I'm not going to add fuel to the fire, but there is some other things that are like that. And honestly, you know, to be the other side of this is like, well, if the people at the State House thought that the city was being run right, they wouldn't have their nose in our business. So I'm just saying that's, you know,
they don't know. They don't know. They don't live here. They come and visit for 3 months out of the year. They don't stay. They go to downtown. They may go get something to eat. They stay at a hotel. They don't live here. And it is very different when you live in a city and you know the neighborhoods versus I'm coming in from Crawfordsville or Ohio County or Switzerland County. Those counties ain't like Marion County. This is almost a 1 million strong city, million strong, diverse, a diversity. They come from homogenous communities. They don't always understand what's happening in Indianapolis. And I wish they would just, again, write policies that impact all 92 counties. I don't have a problem with that. But when you write policies specifically targeting one city time after time after time again, because we know, Mr. JS, you already know Indianapolis is the economic hub, the economic center of our entire state. Everything runs through Indianapolis. They want to control Indianapolis and they can't because the voters say, nah, we're not finna have that. And therefore we have a Democratic supermajority. And Joe Hogg said, well, no matter what you think about him, he won by 70% of the vote. The people in Indianapolis made their call, just like we have to deal with the fact that there's a supermajority in the state house of Republicans. I wish I could change it, but unless people in red counties will vote for Democrats, I'm stuck with what I got. So I think, again, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If we can have a supermajority here in Indianapolis, the Republicans at the state house should not be overriding us, and thus not even looking at the rest of the counties and how these bills will impact them or not impact them. I have a real problem with the fact that we're supposed to have local control, which Republicans are always supposed to be talking about, local control, small government, but they want to be all up in our business down here.
But Dana, the rules were rewritten from a period of a dozen or 14 years ago when the Democrat Party controlled the majority. It wasn't a world apart. It was a generation apart when the Democrats were in control of the state house, and the ground rules that they are working to are essentially the same. And so they had the ability to exercise that authority over the cities and towns that are subsidiary units of government. But I would acknowledge that it seems like they are more overtly trying to, not that they are more overtly getting involved in local control issues. If I'm lifted into the mayor's office, I'm going to want to say, ladies and gentlemen, this is our city. I'm the mayor. We have a council, and let us do our work. Let us listen to our citizens. But I will, but you've got to give deference to the Marion County delegation in the State House, because they share the boundaries and the borders with us as well. And so that's different than a state legislator from Coots, Indiana.
Yeah.
Well, we absolutely agree, JS.
We
absolutely agree. And I just listen, I just need people to get them out, man. It's not right to see bills that are discriminatory, because when you single out one city, that is discrimination all day, every day. Call it what you want.
And I think I can agree with that. And on that note, Jefferson,
hold on 1 second. I just want to agree with Dan a little further. I mean, Indianapolis is special because, well, I mean, if you take Marion County of the Donuts, this part of our state, Central Indiana, Marion County of the Donuts, the GDP in 2022 of this part of our state is $170 billion. I mean, we are way disproportionately important to our state. It's not hard to understand that they might take an outsized interest in what's going on in Marion County and the Donuts, because we power the state from an economic standpoint. That's just the reality. And so their interest in what's going on here cuts both ways. We want them to have an outsized interest in investing in this region, because this region is the economic driver for Indiana. I mean, there's a lot going on that's good down in Louisville and Clarksville and at Clark County and Floyd County. Allen County's going great. Everything's firing on all cylinders up there in Fort Wayne. But there's nothing at the level that we have here in Indianapolis. And so the General Assembly does care, and they take more than a passing interest in what's going on here in Marion County. And if I have the opportunity to serve as your mayor, I'm going to work really hard and be very present down at the State House during session, which is something that I think most people would tell you our sitting mayor has not done. He's not up. He doesn't work with them.
So I'm going to be lobbyist. I will be. It's kind of hard to work with people that keep hitting you in the eye. I mean, you keep hitting me in the eye. I'm not going to keep working with you. Every time you turn around, they hitting us in the eye. Boom.
I'm going to say,
boom.
I'm going to say no to that.
They're going to
Dana,
take Davis on
I have given Joe Hogsett several ideas on how to make things better, and I've gotten the old cold shoulder. So I don't want to hear that.
So maybe he didn't agree with you. Maybe he just didn't agree with you.
He didn't listen. He didn't even take the time to listen to it. So, just going to say that. So,
JS, I appreciate your candid. Again, I just want you Republicans to tell your friends at the State House to get out of my city. Thank you.
And I think we can agree with that. I think we got it covered down here. So Jefferson, we had some extra commentary in there, so we gave you a little bit more time. And I know if I had the other candidates,
well, I'm taking up for Abdul's space too, right?
Yeah, that's you got all that. But hey, we should have changed this to mayor in a car. That's what we should have named this thing, mayor in a car. If you don't have a car, you can't be on the show. So we appreciate it. So now we're going to go to that great portion of our program that we are not letting anybody running for mayor be on, and that is the conspiracy theory. So if and when you win a primary or whatever, you could come back on. You can do all the conspiracies you want. Bring your own tinfoil. But tonight, we're going to let you off the hook, and we appreciate you coming on the show. So with that being said, let's go ahead and roll that beautiful footage for getting your tinfoil hat out. So thanks, Jefferson. Good luck next Tuesday. And thanks for coming
guys.
On. All right.
Appreciate being.
Hey, y'all, better get your tinfoil hats out. It's time for the conspiracy theory. Come on now, let's go.
All right, let's see. Yeah, there we go. I get Dana down here, the two pretty people on the bottom. All right. Because my conspiracy theory's got Dana involved. So, I want to be close by. So if she could reach over and smack me if I have an issue. So we're going to start with Jordan tonight. Once he gets his hat fixed there on this. I think that was a pretty decent show. I mean, you guys asked good questions. We got questions in from the audience there. I mean, other than Abdul having an emergency, I feel bad about that, but apparently everything's going to be okay. But it's tough running the campaign, as I think we've all done that before, right? Dana, you've run for it's like I said, you wish there was more time. You're glad it's over.
I ran in 2016 against Brian Bosman.
Oh, really?
Obviously, I lost.
Well, I don't know. I would honestly say I don't know if we would probably be better off if you'd got in there, but I don't want my Republican friends to be mad at me, so I'm not going to say that. Okay, I didn't say that. so anyway, Jordan, your hat, it seems to be. Did you sit on it or something? What happened to it there?
So no, like it flattens over time. I'm making a new one. No worries, I'll have a new one.
Okay, yeah, I know you have a good one. So
yes,
and our
it's the alien tractor beam trying to take it off of his head.
Right.
Pull.
You need to flare out those fins a little bit. Yeah, there you go. That's better. Yeah, they're two sticking straight up. Yeah, like I got room to talk. I got like one going there. So Jordan, what's your conspiracy going on?
My conspiracy theory, of course, is always going to stay towards space-related things because this is a great time for space. So SpaceX launched the world's largest, most powerful rocket ever, and basically blew a crater in their launch pad. I think my prediction is going to be at least by 2025, we may have the first commercial crew going around the moon in the world's largest rocket ship. So keep going to SpaceX. Conspiracy theory on the end of it, I think it was sabotaged by the government. Of course, they couldn't have them fly better than their SLS rockets, so they kind of sabotaged it before launch. So that's probably why it blew up.
I think I saw Pinky in the Brain out there on the launch pad. But yeah, right. I remember when I was in Florida this last December, I actually saw, we were driving back from the golf course and I saw the SpaceX going up. I'm like, that is crazy. And I watched it go up and it did little things up there and it came back down and landed back. I'm like, come on now, that's something else. It's like, man, I mean, my experience with rockets, when I was a kid, we used to take matches and we put them in aluminum foil and put it make a little rocket out of it and light it and it would, but it wouldn't. We're lucky we didn't burn the house down, but we didn't. So that's.
I'm with you, John, on the rocket, because I remember calling my girlfriend up and I was like, baby, they landed it on a platform. And I told her, she was like, and I'm like, you know what? You've been watching too many sci-fi movies because you think that that's a normal thing to be able to land the rocket back down on a platform.
Isn't that a good thing, though? Don't you want it to be normal? Like that should be a normal.
I do want it to be. I do, but like you, I was like, they landed it on a I mean, that's beautiful. Right. Like technology is changing, and I'm loving. Like they're gonna be able to recycle the rocket. That's what's up.
Yes,
I know. It's like, well, it's and always space travel and those type of things are always controversial because we have hungry people here, and why were we feeding our hungry people? We're trying to go to the moon, but I mean, it's like another show, another argument.
Yeah,
I think so. Okay, Lucy, what do you got? Conspirafact.
Oh my gosh, there's just so much stuff out there that can be used. I mean, how do I limit myself?
I don't know. It's very tough. I'm sure it's probably not very lonely in your brain.
No, we're all very happy in here. So of course, it has to do with Bill Gates. It has to do with Bill Gates. And the conspiracy theory is that we're on an alternate timeline. Now, this is total conspiracy theory. This is not conspiracy fact. I'm going to have a little fun today.
Okay,
good.
good.
Some people may actually remember that years ago there was a time when Bill Gates was coming up into court under his monopoly thing for Microsoft, and somebody came up and they gave him a pie in the face. So I'm under the theory that the timeline has been changed, and we're actually supposed to have had somebody assassinate Bill Gates in order to save us from all of the havoc that he's created, mostly from, beyond meat and eating insects and having him buy up all the farmland. So I'm going to say that maybe even Elon Musk might have been involved, maybe not, but they created a time machine and they went back and they substituted the gun for the pie in the face. We've been suffering ever since.
The pie in the face. that was like, didn't somebody throw a shoe at George Bush at something? It was like, I don't know what's worse, a pie in the face or a shoe.
I don't know. Did the shoe land? I mean, but let's talk
he
about
ducked.
No, he went like this.
Twice. He got away from it. He
like,
bobbed
bobbed
and
and
weaved.
weaved.
He was pretty good. Yeah, he did a
the
good
bob
job.
and weave.
Yeah, he did. And it just kept on talking. He said strategery. That's how
I bomb brown people like a butterfly, and I sting with my Cobra Stingray.
Yeah,
bombs or
Stingray
whatever.
bombs. Or, yeah,
I don't know. I'm not good off the cuff.
No,
Clearly, I'll never be a writer.
That is obvious. So, all right, Dana, I'm going to give you the option. You want to go first or next or last?
Well, since I have my a la natural silver aluminum crown, I'm going to go ahead and come with it. My conspiracy theory is this. Since Tucker Carlson got fired from Fox and Don Lemon got fired from CNN, they're going to start a brand new show together, How to Date an Anchor. And it's going to be, it doesn't matter if it's same gender loving, opposite gender loving. The two of them are going to come together and create a whole new show called How to Date an Anchor. That is my conspiracy theory.
Good one.
Oh, man, I should have gone first. You're not going to believe my theory is got Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon in it. But I got a phone call today from the CNN headquarters and the Fox News. And this is what they told me. He says, well, we heard you're going to have Dana Black on your show tonight. And this is the Fox people calling me up. They said, was there any way you could ask her to take over for Carlson Tucker, which I've never seen his show. I know a lot of people say, oh, Republicans watch that show. I've never seen his show. But they said Dana Black would be perfect for that show. Well, I said, well, I can ask her if she would do it. I mean, she'd be better than Tucker Carlson, I'm sure of it, but we've never had Tucker Carlson.
You know what? For the right paycheck, I will tell my Democratic story on any station.
As
long as they understand that I'm coming from the left side of things.
Yeah.
As long as they understand that I am all the things. You know what? My thing is this. I believe in democracy. I believe in what our country stands for. I believe that we will be better tomorrow than we are today. However, we need real people to see all of humanity, not just some of humanity, not just from their lens. We need people that can step outside of themselves and understand that everyone does not have the exact same experiences. We don't start from the same place. And then we have to carve out caveats for different situations. I need people to be nuanced in their thinking and in their leadership. So if they want that on their show, tell them to give me a call. They know how to find me.
Yeah. Well, what's ironic is I get a call from CNN. They want me to take over for Don Lemon. I'm like, really? I thought I said, well, I'll consider it, but I don't know if I can leave this successful internet show that we have going on here. I mean, it's tough. So Dana, I know that you cannot be a regular guest, and I do appreciate the fact that you are one of the few Democrats that will come on this show and be able to support your positions and all that. But we've had a heck of a time getting Democrats. I mean, I got Republicans lined out the door to want to be on the show, and Lucy's. I think everybody's scared to get on here. Libertarians says they cannot produce like Lucy does on this show. I mean, it's just they're scared away. Would you have any suggestions for maybe a Democrat that might be able to fill? I know it. It's like it's
the
tough.
thing is that people have their own, reasons for doing what they do. I come on the shows because I believe that I'm working on my craft, right? My craft is to bring democracy to the people in a voice and in a tone that the average everyday person can hear. And if I'm afraid to come talk to people who disagree with me, then I'm no better than the clowns. I'm not judging anybody else. These are just my standards. So I know that there are people out there that don't believe in what I talk about. I write for the Indianapolis Business Journal. Trust me, I get all the little nasty comments when I write, but I believe what I write. I believe what I'm saying. You don't have to believe me. But the thing is that there's enough room for everybody to have a voice. And I believe my voice is just as powerful and as valid as anybody else's voice. And I know that there are people who agree with me. My thing is, I'm not getting ready to, I'm not going to shout. I mean, I'm a loud talker, but I'm not going to shout you down. I'm not going to bring my guns. I'm not going to show up at drag queen story hour and try to intimidate librarians because I'm a hard ass. My thing is, democracy is about, we have to find compromise, because if you are an extreme on one side, I'm extreme on the other side. We got to get in the middle some way. And that's just what I believe in. I'm not afraid to, just like Mayor P ain't afraid to go on Fox News. I'm not afraid to come and talk to y'all because I'm a bad chick. So
yeah, well, and that's what I appreciate. And, and I think that if we get to know each other, it's harder to hate each other. And you can, and
no, I do not own a gun. No, Dorn, I do not own a gun.
Oh, you got that.
Yeah, I shot guns in ROTC and JROTC. I know how to shoot them, break them down, clean them, put them back together, but I have no desire to own one.
I got somebody that
That's okay. I bought up all the ones that you didn't, so it's all good.
Yeah, we do have a good NRA show coming up. I got some pretty good peeps on the streets from that. It's burning a hole in my pocket. We need to talk about guns and whatnot at some point. So let's see. If you guys can stick around, after this, we'll do that. But I'm gonna have to do one thing by myself for like the intro to the others for the Channel 40 and all that, and then we'll debrief after this. So, hey, we thank everybody for tuning in. We had a pretty good audience tonight. I think it was good questioning. I wish we had had all 4 candidates, but it just didn't work out that way. So, with that being said, thank you to the audience. Thank you to the panel. Dana, always great to see you. You're welcome anytime. We love your energy and we appreciate your opinion. So, we'll see you next Tuesday, and maybe we'll have a couple winners by 9:00 of next year. I know some people that don't have challengers, they're going to win. So, and if you are one of those people out there that watch our show or don't watch our show, come on the show next week and we'll give you 5 or so minutes to gloat, spike the football, whatever you want to do a little party dance, whatever, wear a tinfoil hat. I don't care, whatever. So thanks a lot, everybody. And we'll see you next week, 9 p.m. and 9:30. This show will air 9:30 on WHMB next Monday, right before the primary. It'd be great. So I got to edit it down. So I got to make everybody look good. So it all works out. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Yeah! All right. Hey, welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics. And hey, Channel 40 viewers, we're in for a treat tonight. We have 3 of the 4 candidates for mayor. We had one of our candidates have an emergency and could not make it, but we have 3 of the 4 candidates for GOP mayor of Indianapolis. So let's get to that show and let's see what the candidates have to say. And hey, you get a vote tomorrow. So pay attention.